October 14th, 2026, 9:30 in the morning. The massive digital screens dominating Times Square are flashing green. The opening bell of the NASDAQ rings out, a sharp, metallic sound that signals the commencement of global trading. Standing on the podium is Elias Thorne. He is the brilliant chief executive officer of Q-Core, a quantum computing startup that just achieved a historic $400 million initial public offering. The crowd cheers, the cameras flash, institutional investors celebrate an overnight windfall. But a retrospective biometric analysis of the high-definition broadcast reveals an impossible physical anomaly. At the exact moment Thorne smiles and raises his hand, his jawline deviates by 0.02 millimeters from the structural limits of human anatomy. His retinas absorb the glaring stadium lights without casting a single natural reflection. And for the entire 3-minute ceremony, his chest cavity does not expand. He does not take a single breath. Elias Thorne is not a human being. He is not a sociopath in a tailored suit. He does not exist. The man standing at the apex of the global financial system is nothing more than a 45-gigabyte compressed executable file running on a server farm in Eastern Europe. The $400 million flowing into his company accounts are very real. The institutional investors wiring the funds are very real, but the entity receiving them is a ghost born of algorithmic rendering. This is not a case of wire fraud. This is not a simple embezzlement scheme. This is the structural collapse of corporate trust, a surgical strike against the fundamental mechanisms of modern capitalism. Rewind the timeline exactly 8 months. The blueprint of the greatest financial heist of the decade does not begin in a bank vault or a corporate boardroom. It begins in an unlit basement, equipped with a custom-built cooling rig for a bank of stolen graphic processing units. The mastermind behind this operation does not wear a mask. He does not need a fake passport. His primary weapon is a generative adversarial network. To create a chief executive officer capable of manipulating Wall Street, he needs raw, high-quality data. He scrapes 5,000 hours of high-definition video footage featuring the most successful Fortune 500 executives. He isolates their micro-expressions, the subtle way they shift their weight when deflecting difficult questions, the precise asymmetrical smirk of a tech billionaire projecting absolute confidence. The neural network processes this massive data set for 72 uninterrupted hours. It adjusts weights and biases, pitting 2 advanced algorithms against each other until the synthetic output is indistinguishable from biological reality. The result of this digital forge is Elias Thorne, a face mathematically optimized to project authority, intelligence, and unwavering trustworthiness. But a synthetic face is entirely useless without a corporate entity to back it up. The first impenetrable barrier is the global banking sector, the Know Your Customer protocols. To open the offshore accounts necessary for a quantum computing startup, Thorne must pass a strict biometric liveness verification, a sophisticated system designed to detect deepfakes by analyzing thermal noise and depth perception. The banking security algorithm monitors subdermal blood flow patterns through webcam color shifts. To beat this, the mastermind cannot just use a static 3-dimensional model. He must simulate the pulse of a living heart. He programs a microscopic red color pulsation into the pixels of Thorne's synthetic cheeks, timed perfectly to a resting heart rate of 65 beats per minute. He does not try to hack the bank's servers directly. He simply bypasses the physical camera. He writes a custom injection script that intercepts the data stream between the hardware webcam and the banking application. Instead of feeding a live optical feed, The script funnels the pre-rendered face of Elias Thorne directly into the verification software. When the bank's security algorithm demands that Thorne turn his head slowly to the left and blink twice, the mastermind triggers the corresponding macro on his mechanical keyboard. The synthetic head rotates with perfect anatomical physics. The synthetic eyelids close and open smoothly. The banking algorithm registers a 99.8% match for human liveness. A green checkmark appears on the monitor. The account is approved automatically. The digital phantom now possesses legal financial infrastructure. A ghost has been granted the power to hold and transfer capital. With the banking infrastructure secured, the trap is set for the apex predators of the financial world. The venture capital funds. The men and women whose entire careers are built on reading the room and sniffing out deception. The first seed funding round is conducted entirely over a secure Zoom protocol. 9 sharp suits staring through their webcams from a glass-walled skyscraper in Manhattan. They are staring at Elias Thorne, who appears to be sitting in a minimalist, dimly lit office in Silicon Valley. In reality, the mastermind is hunched over 3 glowing monitors thousands of miles away. The tension in the room is not measured in heartbeats, but in processing cycles and thermal output. The mastermind is not just typing blindly. He has a secondary monitor running a localized instance of an advanced large language model, pre-trained on 10 years of quantum physics research papers and financial earnings calls. As the venture capitalist speaks, the audio is instantly transcribed. The language model highlights key vulnerabilities in the question and suggests high-probability responses. The mastermind curates the output, his fingers flying across the mechanical keyboard at 110 words per minute. The text-to-speech engine converts his keystrokes into Thorne's deep, resonant voice with a measured delay of 0.4 seconds to simulate cognitive processing. The Deepfake software instantly maps the audio waveform to the synthetic face, manipulating the lips, the jaw muscles, and the vocal cords in perfect synchronization. But rendering a 4K video feed in real time pushes the graphics processing units to their absolute thermal limits. A temperature spike could cause a catastrophic frame rate drop. A lag of 50 milliseconds in lip syncing would shatter the illusion and trigger an immediate fraud investigation by federal authorities. The mastermind anticipates this physical limitation. He deliberately routes the video connection through a series of proxy servers in South America, artificially introducing a network ping delay of 150 milliseconds. He forces a slight degradation in the video bitrate. If the rendering software stutters, if Elias Thorne's left eye twitches unnaturally due to a processing error, the venture capitalists simply attribute it to a poor internet connection. They do not suspect for a single second that they are talking to a machine. They are too focused on the revolutionary technology Thorne is selling. They are completely blinded by the promise of infinite returns. The mastermind types a final, persuasive sentence. Thorne smiles warmly through the screen and closes the pitch. The venture capitalists lean back in their expensive leather chairs, completely unaware that they have just handed over $20 million to a string of code. They have funded the illusion. The first domino has fallen. The final 72 hours preceding the initial public offering. This is the steepest ascent of the operation, the Roadshow, a grueling marathon of continuous high-stakes video conferences. The schedule is relentless. Institutional investors, hedge fund managers, sovereign wealth representatives. The mastermind is operating in complete isolation. He is fueled by adrenaline and caffeine. His hardware is pushed to the absolute breaking point. The primary graphics processing unit registers a critical thermal load, 89 degrees Celsius. The liquid cooling pumps whine under the extreme strain. The thermal paste begins to degrade. If the hardware forces an emergency shutdown now, the synthetic video feed crashes. The illusion dissolves. The entire operation collapses. To mitigate the risk of prolonged exposure, the mastermind weaponizes the psychology of the market. He engineers artificial scarcity. He fabricates an overwhelming competitive tension. Meeting times are strictly limited to 15 minutes. He forces the synthetic Elias Thorne to appear impatient, constantly checking a digital watch. The deepfake model generates micro-expressions of calculated arrogance. He dismisses probing questions with vague, hyper-technical jargon regarding quantum coherence and cryptographic superposition. The strategy works flawlessly. The artificial arrogance triggers an intense fear of missing out among the investors. Wall Street analysts do not demand physical facility tours. They do not request in-person meetings. They are entirely consumed by the momentum of the deal. They trust the digital paperwork. The S-1 filing submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission is a masterpiece of procedural forgery. It is a labyrinth of fabricated data. The mastermind does not forge physical signatures. He uses compromised digital certificates, cross-encrypted cryptographic signatures layered over synthesized audit reports. The documents appear to originate from legitimate shell accounting firms registered in offshore jurisdictions. The entire regulatory framework of the financial market relies on document verification, not physical reality. The regulatory algorithms verify the encryption hashes. They do not verify the biological existence of the entity holding the private keys. October 14th, 0930 hours Eastern Standard Time. The climax of the mountain. The NASDAQ bell rings. Retail and institutional capital floods the order books. The stock ticker symbol, QCOR, goes live on the global index. $400 million of liquid assets are transferred into the corporate accounts of the phantom startup. The transaction nodes light up. The ledger updates. In the dark, unlit basement, the mastermind watches the balance refresh. He does not celebrate. He does not breathe a sigh of relief. His eyes remain locked on the terminal. The moment the funds clear, the execution phase begins. He reaches for his mechanical keyboard. He selects a single, pre-compiled Python script. He presses the Enter key. An automated command sequence triggers instantly. The massive $400 million pool of fiat currency is shattered. It is converted into stablecoins and immediately divided into 150,000 randomized microtransactions. These fractions are blasted across a highly complex, decentralized network of cryptocurrency mixers. They bounce through obfuscated blockchain ledgers, jumping across dozens of distinct protocols. Automated smart contracts swallow the funds, scramble the transaction histories, and spit the assets into thousands of anonymous cold storage wallets. The entire capital reserve is washed, anonymized, and completely untraceable. Total execution time from the press of a button to total asset evaporation, 4.3 seconds. The descent is brutal and instantaneous. The automated trading safeguards detect the massive capital flight. Trading is halted. The Securities and Exchange Commission issues emergency subpoenas. The Federal Reserve flags the routing numbers. Federal Bureau of Investigation cyber tactical units immediately trace the originating IP addresses of the corporate accounts. They triangulate the signal to an industrial zone. A heavily armed tactical team kicks down the reinforced steel door of the registered corporate headquarters. They find absolutely nothing. It is an abandoned warehouse. Inside, a single server rack stands alone in the center of the concrete floor. Smoke pours from the metal casing. The hard drives have been physically destroyed by a deliberate thermal overload command. The silicon platters are melted into useless slag. The registered corporate phone numbers return dead routing errors. The audited financial statements unravel into meaningless, randomly generated data points. The global manhunt for Elias Thorne ends before it even begins. Back in the basement, the mastermind stares at his monitor. He types one final command into his secure terminal: rm-rf/CEO. He executes the purge. The directory is deleted. The synthetic face matrices, the cloned voice models, the neural network behavioral weights, the entire digital anatomy of a billionaire, erased, overwritten with 0-byte data. Elias Thorne ceases to exist in the physical and digital universe. The aftermath leaves the global financial sector in a state of catatonic shock. The irony of the situation is suffocating. In 2025, the Securities and Exchange Commission deployed a $2 billion artificial intelligence upgrade to detect market manipulation and fraudulent trading patterns. They built an impenetrable digital fortress to monitor billions of data points, analyzing high-frequency trading anomalies and insider trading networks. They engineered the most sophisticated financial shield in human history, but that multi-billion-dollar shield was utterly bypassed. It was defeated by a voice cloning subscription that cost $15 a month and an open-source deepfake repository downloaded for free from a public developer forum. The regulators built a colossal system to catch complex mathematical anomalies and institutional corruption. They forgot to verify if the human being on the screen was actually breathing. The ultimate vulnerability of Wall Street is not found in outdated firewalls, vulnerable software architecture, or weak cryptographic protocols. It is found in the boundless, blinding arrogance of human greed. When a glowing high-definition screen promises infinite wealth, the sharpest and most cynical minds on Earth will happily surrender their entire fortunes to a ghost.